G'day everyone, Michael Partis from Global Plus. For those of you that don't know us, we're a 50-year-old asset recovery and debt resolution business. So if you've got anything about invoices that are unpaid or you're trying to get stuff back, you should be coming and talking to us. I'm very excited about who I'm talking with today, Rod Peters. I'll introduce him very shortly to get him to describe a little bit about himself. But what I really appreciate about Rod and where it connects with us is he helps a lot of businesses who are experiencing difficulty get themselves reorganised. So it's fantastic when we know somebody who's got lots of debts that need recovering and they're shy on their cash flow. Rod is one of those specialists that I can trust to help those customers sort themselves out. G'day Rod, how are you today?
I'm good, Michael. Good, very thank you. Yourself?
Excellent, excellent. Mate, for everyone else at home, I've obviously completely glossed over the rest of the stuff that you do. Could you give us a little bit more detail?
Yeah, sure, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, so at Eventum Optimum, we're a business-to-business solution. So what we do is work with fellow professionals, accountants, finance brokers, debt recovery specialists, etc., and we provide a solution of probably threefold around structuring for their clients' positions to make sure that they are less risky exposed, both business and personal assets. We have an asset protection strategy where we actually have a leading member bloodline discretionary trust where we protect equitable interest via mortgages and PPSRs. And probably, unfortunately, our biggest area at the present time, Michael, which is dealing with business turnaround. So we utilise legal solutions around compromising ATO debt, direct debit loans, directors' loans, creditors' issues, creditor negotiation type roles. So it's a tough industry at the moment. The ATO is quite ferocious, so we're very, very busy. We also have some admin services for other business firms and accounting firms. So we have a large number of accounting firms across the country. If they want trust deed stamping, they want PPSRs registered, they want loan and security agreements, successive director resolutions, we reach out to them, provide these sort of value-added advisory services for their practice under our insurance and our little skill set, just so that accountants, they can focus on their compliance, but then with the advisory they can provide additional service to their clients without being a KPMG or Deloitte's having to have 50 to 100 staff. They can have the size of the firm, but have all these resources available through the We Love Group, which is our parent company.
And I do love that about the types of services you offer, because that really ties in, especially at the moment, because it is so complex for everyone. I mean, one of those big areas that we're seeing at Global Plus is people coming to us and they're really struggling with those cash flow pieces. And that's ultimately because they haven't been paid by the people that they've invoiced. And while we're helping that, sometimes they just need a little bit more help. So there's this concept that people may have heard of before, but don't really understand very well, and in the business turnaround space, around small business restructures. So especially if you're a trade business or something like that, where you don't have the network of expertise around you that you can sort of offer and touch all of those pieces, what does a small business restructure look like, and how does that relate back to stabilising people's cash flow?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Michael, and coming out of COVID and just general with the inflationary environment that we're experiencing right now, a lot of businesses have legacy debt positions, be it debit loans or external finance, or the prime one these days is the ATO debt. And I think everyone's got best intentions, but when you're not unable to apply your trade, and you hit on one thing there, which is a knock-on effect as well, Michael, with respect to a small mum and dad supplier, a large company goes down, and that has a roll-on effect. And 99% of the people we deal with are good people. They experience cash flow issues, which isn't the number one. They have bad debt issues. The pincer grip now between being competitive and at the same time having rising prices, with staff are hard to get, they're expensive to get, materials have gone up. It's a whole experience. So we're finding businesses are now in a position where they've got legacy positions, they don't know what to do. And the government in 21 the federal government came out with a really, everyone loves to knock government, but they actually came out with a solution which was amazing, and I call it insolvency light. And the best way to say is that in Queensland, like for the building and construction sector, if you do an insolvency, you're banned for 3 years automatically as there being a person of influence, whereas if you use the small business, you can retain your license. So it's a way to get some benefits without the impact. You still keep control of your company, you still keep your employee agreements, your supplier agreements, your lease agreements, finance agreements, etc., etc. So what it essentially does, Michael, if you reach 3 criteria, those three criteria predominantly being a corporate or a corporate trustee, so a corporate entity of some description, have unsecured liabilities of less than $1 million, and your superannuation is paid up to date. If you tick those three boxes, for the first time since I've got the grey hairs, I've been doing this a long time, the ATO is actually compromising ATO debt, and typically between 15 and 25 cents. So if you've got a client who's got a $200,000 ATO debt which they can't jump over, subject to cash flow management, balance sheet modification, and putting forward a successful proposal, which we're very experienced at doing, and working with small business practitioner environment, they're able to potentially pay $30,000 to $40,000 in full and final settlement of that debt, which allows that company to continue to employ and grow. And I think it's good for everybody, because it doesn't mean bad debts. It means that, that the economy is not it's falling over. So I think it's an amazing opportunity. Obviously, the ATO is the most significant credit that we are seeing, but it just allows these companies to grow and to re-engage, which otherwise potentially it's just it's a sharp fall off, and it doesn't benefit anybody. And so yeah, it's a great solution. Look, we do a little bit of work around traditional insolvency things, but where we can be light and have less impact on all parties concerned, that we're all for that. Most businesses and clients that see us, Michael, they're good people. They don't want to do the wrong thing by creditors, by their staff, by suppliers. They're good people. And I think this legislation just allows, for the first time, allows business to compromise genuinely with third parties and without the stigma that's attached to traditional insolvency.
Look, and I think you've raised a really good point around what does this ultimately look like, and that people are good people generally, right? They don't choose the weather environments they get caught up in. They can't choose those supplier issues, trying to get the right employees to deliver where they need to. Illness. I mean, there's so many things that can impact the stability of cash flow inside a business, and it's not hard to take your eye off the ball for a couple of months when you've sent out these invoices and expect people to pay, and they don't. And so it's really hard to not be too desperate and go, well, right, how do I, one, collect the money that I'm owed, and then two, how can I engage the financial services sector, if you like, and be represented to the ATO and other practices and other people that I might owe money to try and figure out what that looks like. And I think that's really key at the moment. We saw coming up to Christmas a lot of people really starting to get the squeeze on, saying, hey, I really need this money because I'm going to be quiet over the summer, and try and collect invoices on their behalf. But that doesn't necessarily change, even when that money comes in, the availability that they've got to service what they've already got in play. And
I think that's a good point, Mark. It's a sort of a compromise here. I mean, we always believe prevention is better than cure. And where we can reach out to yourself, Michael, and assure is we can get the cash flow as the lifeblood of the company, and debtor management and debtor collection is certainly where the age days are increasing all the time in the present environment. So that allows a client to make informed decisions, such as the small business restructure, which are more seismic, but without the oil proverbially going to fuel the engine, the whole business closes down. So working with fellow professionals like yourself just allows us to provide more, holistic solutions to businesses, where otherwise, it would be more dramatic, and the impact, I think, for the individual, the company itself, and all the third parties. And a lot of people just look at their client themselves. That's obviously who we're paid to represent and look after. There are knock-on effects, and I think as professionals, we do our job, but we are people first and foremost, and we all want. None of us have got that sort of nasty side to us. We're trying to get the better result for all parties concerned. So where we can get in early, before those debts become almost untenable or can't be attended to, and that's where the cash flow solutions, sometimes lending solutions, etc., really are paramount for our clients.
So people who'll see this video may be turning around and thinking about, okay, so what do I necessarily need to do under these circumstances? So how do I know I really qualify? So you talked about the 3 rules before around how small business restructuring can apply. What I'm really interested in, what are the types of things they should be looking at inside their own business to say, hey, I think I could be struggling, or I think I might be in a little bit of trouble, and that they should go and reach out to their accountant or to their bookkeeper and get reference to somebody like yourself to sit down and have a chat around a small business restructure.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Michael. We probably have two answers to that. At the accountant level, the professional level, quite often I receive management about my balance sheets and financials along with ATO portal statements, and I'm able to assess quite quickly where some options around there. So that a lot of the work I get is referred from accountants rather than the underlying client themselves. We then go out and help that client. So for accountants, we have devised checklists, and that is you're looking for like and this is all on the client level, is like aged debtor days. Days if you're seeking extension for your credit, if there is outstanding ATO lodgements, and that's one thing I'm I'm like a crack record. Lodge. You have I love structuring. I love asset protection. If you set up all these structures, if you report within 3 months of the due date, Michael, within reason, we can use that corporate veil to protect the personal liability of a director of a company. If they don't lodge, they put their head in the sand, it's a problem. So we always say, don't put your head in the sand, reach out to professionals like ourselves. We've created a checklist, which I'm happy to share post this meeting. It really is around cash flow management. We have some ratio analysis, but I'm more for the layman term for the business owner. Where you are experienced when you're not paying yourself a wage, where you're putting third-party money in, such as you're taking money from your mortgage to pay into the company, that's a warning sign. Look, and I don't want to say this to be negative to cash flow lenders, because cash flow lenders provide a valuable solution, but quite often when you are going to the third tier or second tier lenders, that's because you can't get loans at the high level. That's because you've got outstanding ATO debt, lodgements. You don't have the capacity to service those debts, and a commercial loan is it easier to get because it doesn't take into consideration some of those situations, just more the asset base of the company and the security provided. So where you're seeking cash flow finance to pay your day-to-day obligations is clearly a warning sign. If you are sort of agitating for debtor payments, you're not utilising someone like yourself who does cash flow management and services. That gap. One thing is, we were talking to a labour hire company recently where they're paying their clients monthly, and they're receiving up to 180 days with a large multinational mining companies. They're going, invoice financing is one solution, but it obviously comes at a cost as well. The other thing is debtor insurance these days obviously is an important element which is often overlooked. When we draft the terms and conditions for a client, we make sure they have charging clauses in there, Michael, so that if a client isn't paying, at least they have some legal recourse to, I guess, when you make your job easier, I guess, to help those clients.
I like it when my job is easier.
But yeah, I mean, those warning signs, I think people in typical are aware of them, that they just sometimes they're too hard. It's easier to do nothing than to do something. And I guess the overarching advice I would say to small business, it's tough out there. It's really tough out there. Putting your head in the sand, the problem will actually won't go away and will actually exacerbate and become worse. Coming to us early, we can provide cheaper and much more effective solutions. Take away the stress. And as I always say, as a PAYG, you sleep like a baby. As a director of a company, it's a hard gig. Where else can you go insolvent or lose your personal assets? You're constantly worried. You pay yourself last. It's a tough gig, but there is support out there to prevention rather than cure. Get in early. Don't have the angst. Yeah.
I think just to touch on the most important thing that I look at realistically, and you talked about average debtor days and average creditor days. And for the average punter, they go, well, I'm not quite sure how that looks. And what I know is that at Assure Global Plus, when we're talking to people, we're really saying, hey, if you're noticing a change, a lengthening of the time that it takes for you to receive your money, and you're actually starting to stretch out when you're paying money, chances are that's probably your first warning sign that there might be a problem, and that you should be talking to somebody with some expertise about that. Now, whether that's asking your accountant, whether that's asking your bookkeeper, whether that's asking a whole range of financial experts that you have around you, or your lawyer, or even at the barbecue, hey, let's have this conversation. Because if we don't start paying attention to those types of signals, we invariably can find ourselves in a dark place very quickly, because it's not just about our business not doing well, our sense of self-worth gets impacted as well.
Absolutely. The people side of things, that's probably which just triggers one little thought I didn't say before, Michael, is the structuring side of a business is something I'm very, very passionate about. I mean, how many times we see a sole trader with an ABN sole trader or a partnership come forth, and they've experienced the same difficulties that a small business company might have experienced, but because they haven't had the appropriate structure set up, unfortunately they're facing personal insolvency or personal liability, when if they'd had a company set up in the first place, there's so much more we can do to assist them. So it's never too late to review your structure. Things like if you put money into a company, I would say almost 99 out of 100 of credit loans on balance sheets aren't secured and aren't documented. So if anything goes wrong, that you rank as an unsecured creditor at the bottom of the line. There's so many little things we can do around structuring, around successor director resolutions and loan and security agreements to really protect that business and so you can keep your home and keep your business going. And it's what's the old saying, measure twice, cut once. Get it right the first time. But also, because you've been a sole trader for 12 months or 2 years or 5 years, doesn't mean we can't get it right for you. We do business valuations, we do sale agreements, we can do it legally, so there is no phoenixing or any potential illegal activities. You always follow the law, you value, you pay consideration, you document, you do things legally, no assets move without being commercial prices. But then you put yourself in a position where you can sleep at night, nothing if anything goes wrong.
And that's the difficult part when you're starting out in business, isn't it? Is you normally go out on your own and you're a sole trader to start with and you get it there and you might have a young family, so you're robbing Peter to pay Paul to make sure everything's working, and then that's when it sort of starts to weigh down on you a little bit, when you start seeing it impact how you're interacting with your family, how all those things happen. So you're 100% right, getting those structures in place and paying attention to some of that little detail that we just find boring as a general rule. How do we actually sort of move our way forward to make sure that we've got the best chance for success?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely.
Excellent. Is there anything else you could think of that you would talk to a small business about right from the start? Let's say it is just a small trade business, for instance, and they go, hey, look, I think I have some issues. What should I do? How should I get myself organised to prepare for a conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say make sure you lodge all your taxation obligations and have your financial reporting up to date. Not knowing there's no excuse, and it does incur liability. I'd also say seek the expertise that's available from advisors out there, such as don't allow your debts to go out. Engage yourself, Michael, to make sure that your cash flow is king. It always has been in business. Get your structures right. Talk to your accountant. Talk to advisors like ourselves to make sure everything's put in place. Like a loan and security agreement, you put a PPSR over your credit loans, and you'll get paid before the ATO and any other unsecured creditors. Those legal avenues are available, but without the proper advice, I always say with accountants, don't see them as a cost centre, but see them as part of your business. And that mindset differentiate, you get so much better resources, advice about protecting. So reach out, don't put your head in the sand. Reach out to the to advisors that are there to help, and don't defer what can be done today, because it doesn't get any easier. That's probably the three things I'd say.
Well said. So look, just to wrap up, there's an awful lot of information that you've talked about today, which is great. Some people might not know all of the industry jargon that's come through in our little conversation today. The best way is, if you've got a question, you're interested in learning more, or you just want some clarification around those things, please don't hesitate to reach out to Assure Global Plus, and we'll help you connect wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you.